Hello and welcome to this new tutorial. In this tutorial, we shall talk about the concept of international organizations in international relations. Well, international organizations are pivotal entities in the field of international relations. They serve as platform for cooperation, coordination, and governance among the states. So, when we talk about international organizations in international relations, these international organizations, which I'll be listing out later on, are very important entities, particularly in the field of international relations, because all these international organizations, whether they are at a regional level, sub-regional level, or at international level, provides a platform for states, for members, in order to build some sort of a cooperation among them on various areas, various segments. Similarly, to coordinate on various issues and to have good governance among the states, because states have various issues and often we find that sometimes the issues are common and therefore you need a space to collaborate and to deal with the common issues. And in this aspect, international organizations plays a very important role because it provides them platform for any sort of a cooperation, coordination, and to resolve all the governance issues if they have among themselves. So thus there are widely in terms of their scope and membership and functions, and as we can see that when it comes to the international organizations, they are not limited in their scope. The scope is always wide. They have a lot of members and obviously they have certain functions to perform. Well, there are three types of international organizations. You have international organization itself, in short we call them IGOs. Second, we have non-governmental organizations whom we call NGOs. And third category or third type, we have multinational corporations, which often we call them as MNCs, short form. So let us take first international organizations, IGOs, and understand how these organizations plays out in the international relations. Well, the IGOs, that is international organizations, are composed primarily of sovereign states who are referred as a member state, right? And such examples of IGOs are United Nations, NATO, WHO, and European Union, and there are many organizations. I have just listed out four of these examples. So what is end of the day international organization does, or what is these international organizations? These international organizations are always comprised of sovereign state. Now, who are the sovereign state? Obviously, all the independent countries which has their own system, which has their own government, irrespective of whether it's a democratic, presidential, communist, or any form of a government. These are the sovereign state, right? And all the sovereign states comes together and form the international organizations, and therefore they obviously becomes the member state of any international organizations. For example, as we listed of United Nations organizations, in United Nations organization we have big group of countries, right, who are part and parcel of the United Nations, wherein major issues, major problems, reforms with regard to state, with regard to non-state actors, with regard to environment, everything is being discussed under the sun in United Nations, because all these sovereign states represent themselves as a common grouping to achieve at least not something big than the world peace. Then we have a NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which was formed right after the Second World War, and the politics of NATO is a bit different, but as an organization it is very important because it talks about protecting the interest of all the North Atlantic countries. Then you have a WHO, World Health Organization, which is also part and parcel of United Nations organization because it operates under the umbrella of United Nations, again represents the issues with regard to health issues. And recently we have seen And recently we have seen how during the time of pandemic WHO played a very important role. And then we have another organization called European Union, which is supranational union of countries of the Western Europe. And like these, you have many organizations, as I said at regional level, sub-regional level, or at international level. So in short, international organizations are always comprised of sovereign states who are a member of this state, and they have certain common agenda to achieve. Next we have is non-governmental organization, again as famously been known as NGOs. So NGOs are private sector organization that operate independently of any government, typically aimed at addressing social, political, or environmental issues. An example of such NGOs are Amnesty International, who focused on human rights, and Greenpeace, which is an environmental NGO that campaign globally on issues like climate change, deforestation, and pollution. So second group of international organizations are NGOs, and these NGOs are basically private. They operate independently away from any government because government doesn't fund them for their operation. And typically these NGOs have a specific aim. Some of them are focused on social issues, some of them are into political, some of them are also on environmental issues. And the example which I have taken here is like Amnesty International, which is focused more on human rights issues, and Greenpeace, which is again world famous environmental NGO, which basically campaign and talks about the issues with regard to environment, climate change, deforestation, and pollution. And the last very important point or a group of organization what we have is multinational corporations, which again famously been known as MNCs. Well, MNCs are corporations that operates in multiple countries, influencing international economic relations and politics. And some of these examples of such MNCs are Apple Industries, Motor Corporation, pharmaceuticals, and etc. So again, multinational corporations are another international organizations which operates across the world in a multiple countries. And the reason why they are called multinational is because they don't have their industry only in one country, but rather they have in many countries, multi-nation, and therefore they have been called as multinational corporations. And these multinational corporations by itself are very important organization because they have the power to influence international politics. They have the power to influence international economic relations as well as policies. And the classic example of such multinational corporations today we have is like Apple, right? You have big motor corporations in the world, you name it and you have it. And the way they influence the state policy are immensely putting a lot of pressure sometime on the politics, society, as well as on economics. And then don't forget the pharmaceuticals companies and many other companies in the field, right? So these are the organizations whom we consider as international organizations in international relations. And to summarize everything in a nutshell, international organizations are very important in the field of international relations because, as we discussed, it provides platform for cooperation, coordination, and governance among the state. And widely, the scope of international organizations are wide. And what we have done today, that we have understood this international organization in three different aspects. First, international organization. Second, non-governmental organizations. And third, multinational corporations. I hope you have understood this concept, and I will see you soon in next tutorial. Till then, take care.